Ian.
Dave.
Serrated.
Yeah, hello.
Everybody, we have a wonderful guest on the show this evening. Eric, a.k.a. SerratedMobius, has joined us in our virtual blanket fort this evening. Say hello to the folks, please.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here.
We're very, very excited to have you on the show this evening. So we came across your content on Instagram, and I think a very appropriate time when we could definitely use like some laughter, some just wild stuff, right? And I think so. Like your Instagram, and we'll definitely have links to your Instagram and your podcast in the YouTube description. Your Instagram out of context Mercedes-Benz technician reels are truly a gift to video content and humanity. They're so great. Yeah.
That is a common message that I get, and every single time I get it, it just makes my day. Like all the messages that I get like that. So just hearing it again is just fantastic because it makes me excited to make more every time I hear that. So yeah.
And for anyone who is not familiar, I would describe it as like Just Rolled Into the Shop was produced by Tim and Eric. How would you describe your voice in this sort of space?
I don't know, because I never really thought about it that way. Because to me, like, I just make content just because I want to. Mm-hmm. So it's not a thing where I decided to start making videos to chase clout or to get attention or anything like that. I've been making dumb videos since 2012. Mm-hmm. It's just, this is the first time something's taken off. So, but yeah, this is something that I just like to do. It's like a creative outlet for me. And the fact that other people like it too is a huge plus. So
yeah, it's very apparent that like, this is just like that you are completely enjoying yourself when making these things. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Because all the best things are like that though. All the best things are, I find this very, very fun. I could give two shits if anybody else does, right?
Exactly. 100%.
It's always how the best stuff is.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously this is birthed like out of your sense of humor dovetailing with like daily life of being a Mercedes-Benz tech. Would you give us a little bit of background about your kind of progress to a Mercedes-Benz technician?
So I didn't even decide to start working on cars until 2017.
Okay.
Before that, I was like a sales associate at big box stores, working at Target, stuff like that. I worked on, I didn't work on, but I sold motorcycles for about 6 months. So I was a motorcycle salesman for 6 months in 2016. And that's what started my motorcycle reviews on my YouTube channel, which is at SerratedMobius. If you guys want to go check that out, shameless plug immediately. I use the same name for everything. I've used that same name since 2007, but I digress. Going back to where I was working, I was a motorcycle salesman on YouTube there. Yeah, there's a bunch of my motorcycle reviews right there. My most popular one was my own motorcycle, my 2011 S1000RR review, which is my logo right here that you can see.
Yeah.
Over 6 years, that has 145 views, which I thought was a lot on YouTube at the time. And but yeah, it wasn't until 2017 where I was like, okay, what am I doing with my life? What do I like? I'm not going to be able to be a salesperson forever. You know what I mean? Because one, I didn't like walking up to random people and just starting to talk to them. It just wasn't my personality, because I could tell that they wanted to be left alone. And I'm like, I feel you, but So I was like, I was a huge motorsports fan, still am huge motorsports fan. So I was like, I have found out about NASCAR Tech in Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm going to go apply. I'm going to go to that school and see if I can get into racing. So that was my main goal in 2017. I started in 2018. Went to NASCAR Tech to do the automotive and NASCAR program. So I did like pit crew fabrication, chassis applications, learned how to work on the roll cages on the roll cage chassis for the NASCAR stock cars, at least the old generations. And while I was there, I was also working at GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina, which is this big outdoor go-karting track. And that brought me into the world of motorsports just a little bit because a lot of the paid professionals use that place to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was there, that made me realize maybe motorsports isn't my thing. It was a completely different world that I thought it would be. And if you don't have like a really good personal friend in motorsports to get you in, it's going to be extremely hard if you don't know anybody. And that's one of the main things that NASCAR Tech said is it's more who you know than what you know.
Okay.
Sure.
To try and get in. So hearing that, I was like, okay, need to find something with a little bit more job security. So I had the grades to get into motorsports. You had to be like top level. So I had tons of SOCs, which are student of the courses. So you had the best grade in the class at the end. 4.0 GPA. And I wanted to see what I could do with that. And then we went to a assembly at the school where the person was presenting what they call MSATs, which are manufacturer paid training programs, basically. And there are certain brands that have certain ones, like BMW has one, Porsche has one, but Mercedes also has one. It's called the Mercedes-Benz Drive Program. And what that is a 4-month long training program where you go to a training facility for 4 months to specifically learn on Mercedes-Benz vehicles. And that interested me because, again, of my motorsports background, we went to the me, my mom, and my sister went to the 2013 Formula One Grand Prix in Texas.
Oh,
okay.
awesome.
Nice.
And while I was there, that's when I saw the safety car for the first time in real life. And at that time in 2013, it was a brand new 2013 SLS AMG. And that has the M159 6.2 liter V8 in it. Sounds like an absolute monster. And in real life, hearing that in real life for the first time, that blew me away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going into the drive program, I remembered that and I was like, I want to work on these cars. I want to work on a car that sounds like that. And so in 2019, I got accepted into the drive program because of my grades, passed the drive program. And at the end of 2019, I started working on Mercedes-Benz.
Nice.
And that is long-winded story aside, TLDR. That's how I became a Mercedes-Benz tech.
That's amazing. I like that. Like it was inspired. Like you had like a car puberty with the safety car, right?
Pretty
Like,
much, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the neuron activation moment for me.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And that is a rad ass safety car. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's really, really cool. Yeah.
I have a huge affinity for long nose sports cars, which is
Sure.
also why I really like the AMG GT, which is the spiritual successor to this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's amazing.
You're also a fellow old man sedan enthusiast like I am. You have an E-Class.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I have a 2013 W212 E350 sedan with a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6.
Yeah.
4-door, steel suspension. It's just, yeah, there it is right there. So it's the pre-facelift. That right there is the facelift version that you saw before.
Yeah,
There's
there you
the
go.
pre-facelift.
Yeah.
And
Which I
that's
think
the
looks
exact model
better.
that I have too. That's exactly what it looks like. So it's got the luxury suspension. It's got the ride heights a little bit higher. It's got the S-Class grille, the hood ornament, the double headlights on each side.
Yeah. Old man spec.
Yes. 100% the best car I've ever owned.
Nice.
Granted, I've only owned 3 cars, but this is still the best one
Yeah.
I probably will ever own, unless like something happens that allows me to get something more expensive. So,
yeah. How did you come across this?
So, while I was working at my first dealer that I started at, I took the opportunity to use test drives, which you're supposed to test drive every single car you work on to make sure that one, you know what's wrong with the car before you bring it in, and two, you do a post test drive to make sure that your repair worked, to make sure that everything is okay. But I took those opportunities to basically just see how the entire Mercedes lineup drives. I love the C-Class. The C-Class four-door sedan 100% is my favorite sedan out of the Mercedes lineup, but it is small. It is very small. So for me, who needs a lot of storage space for one, and two, drives all my friends around, I'm constantly the designated driver just because I enjoy driving so much. I needed the size up. S-Class would have been too big and too complicated to work on.
Yeah.
Because you got the air suspension, turbocharged engine, just extra stuff to go wrong. And actually, the E-Class of this generation has a bigger trunk than the S-Class.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because all of the room for the S-Class is in the rear passenger seats.
That makes sense.
For
There
comfort.
you go. Okay.
So as far as... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying they pushed them all back. You can only get two
Yes.
things of golf clubs in there instead of 4.
Exactly.
Right.
But as far as regular commuter and grocery getter and general car, that is the perfect car for me to allow me to, one, be able to own a Mercedes, and two, get massive employee discounts and free labor to work on the car.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So that is the reason I have a Mercedes.
Hey,
Because otherwise I can't afford it.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a hell of a perk. So I don't blame you for that.
Right.
But no, we found mine in Wilmington, North Carolina, actually.
Okay.
And I got it on sale before the used car market boom took off in 2021.
Nice.
For $13,900.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, the sticker price. The sticker was still in the trunk. Sticker price was $58,000 when it was new.
Nice.
Man, that's some crazy depreciation.
Right?
Yeah. I always said that Mercedes-Benz depreciate faster than a 40-ton brick falling at 40,000 feet.
It's true. It's true. Well, especially these non-AMG models, because nobody, your average Mercedes owner wants the new one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus the fact that a used Mercedes is 100% going to cost as much or more in maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
And I did the calculations for everything that I've done on this thing so far, parts and labor included. I bought this thing for $13,900. If I wasn't a Mercedes tech, I would have already spent over $15,000 in services and maintenance on this thing. So, yeah, that part of owning a used Benz is 100% true.
Sure.
But because I'm a Mercedes tech, I've only spent $4,500 on this thing.
That's not bad. I mean, for a luxury sedan, right? I mean, I have a Lexus LS 460 from 2008. My costs are a little lower, but I mean, still
it's still nice. That's still a nice car.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to do rear suspension at some point, and control arms and stuff. But yeah, that is great that you get the perk of being able to work on it, like having the entire Mercedes support structure just at your disposal, and not having to be on forums. Yeah.
Yeah, I have access to all of the knowledge of my coworkers. All I have to do is write up an RO at the dealer that I work at, and I can bring it in no problem. So
that's so great. Yeah.
I mean, that's worth it just for, I think everyone who's owned a nicer car and has the first experience of tearing it all apart and working on it themselves, and then realizing that there's some specific tool they need that is right. That drives everybody fucking crazy when that happens.
Yeah, you have the antidote to that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
So this is a good kind of lead in to a game that we're going to play, but
oh boy,
I have a question about stereotypes. So working at a Mercedes dealership, I'm wondering, because Mercedes has a really good sort of spread of of like stereotypical owners, right? Like the stereotypical S-Class owner is very different than like the stereotypical like CLA owner or the right, or like one of the SUVs, right? Or and like the G-Class owner is like a whole other thing. So do you think at this point, like just walking through the service department and seeing people on the couch or whatever, like, can you match them to the car? Like, have you gotten to that point, or do they not live their stereotypes as much as I imagine they do?
It's not really the way that the owners look. It's more often than not their driving style.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
So the types of let me fill the blank for you. So like, so you mean like certain ones you'll see like control arms will be fucked up because they're jumping over train tracks. Okay,
90. I would say 90% of CLA owners have bottomed out the front end of their vehicles.
Okay.
Because almost every single CLA or GLA that I see, the front subframe is shifted back at one point.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the aluminum like front frame has been bent on the bottom somehow.
Okay.
So that is a common theme with CLA owners.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that car right there. It is a front wheel. Of course, it's front engine, but it's a front wheel drive transverse inline four. Some of them are 4MATIC, but for some reason, the owners of these cars will run over curbs with the entire front end of the vehicle. It's not even It's not even like the rim will get curb rash accidentally. It's just the whole front end will eat a curb. And then we'll bring it into the shop. You'll take off the bottom belly pan, or it's not really the belly pan. It's more a splash guard. Like you have to take off the splash guard to get the oil out, and that splash guard will have chunks of concrete with one part of it covered in yellow, so it was like a speed bump or something.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a
Starbucks
legitimate
employee. Yeah.
That is a legitimate thing that has happened before in the shop to me. Like I worked on one of these cars. I did an alignment on it, and I was like, okay, it's driving straight. If the steering wheel was off even by a degree, I would put it back on the alignment rack. I don't send out cars that aren't driving straight. A week later, the same car comes back with the owner saying, my steering wheel is off center. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have sent it out without it. Like, it was completely straight when I sent it out. I go test drive it, and all of a sudden, the steering wheel is to the right, like 7 degrees. I'm like, there's no way I would have sent it out that bad. Turns out he hit something so hard that, again, the concrete was collected in the belly pan, and also he bent the actual frame that required legitimate body work.
Oh, wow.
Like that was something that I couldn't fix. I don't have the tools to do any kind of body work. So we were like, we need to send this car to a body shop. Bad.
Yeah.
So
I wonder
the seal on that, huh?
I wonder what the deal is with that. I wonder if it's just, and this is just conjecture, but like, I wonder if this is a weird car in that it gets sort of cross-shopped with SUVs more than other sedans do.
Oh.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like
it is the entry level Mercedes. Other than the A-Class, this is the entry level. So it's like $40,000 to $50,000. It's either you could get a completely optioned out Civic, Civic Type R, Civic Si, whatever you want, or you can get a Mercedes. And that's usually the kind of price range that people are looking at for this thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it drives nice as long as it hasn't been, as long as it hasn't eaten a curb. Yeah.
Yeah. Dukes of Hazzard across a parking lot. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So that's the CLA. The CLA gets driven over curbs.
Another stereotype is SL owners will drop any amount of money at like the tip of a hat, no matter what, to fix their car. SLS owners, well, that's the new SLS. There's one of the old ones.
Yeah.
SLS owners are some of the most passionate Mercedes-Benz owners.
That makes sense.
Um,
Yeah.
they love their cars 100%. Doesn't matter how much is wrong with them. They want it fixed and now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, nothing to say about their driving style with this one. All of them have been okay. Like suspension wise and wheel wise, like they take care of their cars when they can.
Yeah.
Which is why they drop money at the tip of a hat for it.
Right.
But yeah, SL owners are extremely passionate. That's what they share in common.
That completely checks out, because that would be my stereotype of them too. Like they would be on the more anal side of things.
Yes.
Yeah. Like they have grandfather's car and it's now their obligation to keep it in tip-top shape, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Or this is the retirement toy.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. The last car.
I will say the new SL65, which is the middle picture right there on the
Yeah.
screen,
Mhm.
the top middle. Yeah, there you go. That is a nice car. The suspension geometry and everything that they've used for all of the parts underneath is something that I don't see on any other Mercedes-Benz. Like this is completely there's very few parts that this car shares with another Benz.
Oh.
It's got hydraulic suspension, like electro-hydraulic suspension. It comes when you do a PDI on one of these cars, it doesn't say anywhere, but you have to know that there are suspension spacers that you have to take off. So
Oh. And PDI means pre-delivery inspection, right?
Yes, pre-delivery inspection. So I did a PDI on an SL65 about 5 months ago. And I didn't know about the spacers.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the PDI on it. The dealership took it, put it in the showroom. And then I went home about, I want to say 3 days after I did the PDI. And I looked on a Facebook page that I belong to for Mercedes-Benz technicians. And it had a post where it was like, make sure that your techs know about the SL65's strut spacers. And I was like, wait, huh?
The what now?
Yeah. So I went into the shop, or went into the sales floor the next day, and I was like, hey, I need to bring this back into my bay.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, what's wrong? I'll let you know once I get them. And what they look like is, I don't know if there's a picture of them on the internet.
Let's see if we can find them. Yeah.
The strut spacers are yellow, and they have like this long string just about. It kind of looks, none of those.
Yeah.
But it kind of looks like I wouldn't say a low poly flower, but it looks kind of like a flower from far away.
Huh.
So if you put, each strut has 3 of them. If you put all fucking 12 of them together and put a zip tie around the strings, it looks like a bouquet of flowers.
Huh.
Okay.
So I took them all off of the car, fashioned them up like a bouquet of flowers, and presented them to the sales floor manager as apology to bringing it back out and like inconveniencing their day.
I mean, at least they didn't take anyone for a test drive with them in, right? Like,
yeah, no, I took the test drive with them, and I'm like, wow, this is really stiff. Not thinking anything of it.
Sport mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this thing handles good.
Because
it has a spring rate of infinity.
Yeah, it is literally a go-kart at that point. Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, no, I took them out and retest drove it to make sure it was okay, and it was fine.
Nice.
Okay.
So
right on.
What about G-Wagon owners? Because those that's the internet's favorite punching bag, right? Like what is the G-Wagon ownership experience?
I don't really know. I think the big thing is it's like owned by a person who would never take it off road anyway.
Right.
Like they would just, like, the big stereotype is like someone who would go to Starbucks and then Target and then go back home in a G-Wagon. Yeah. But other than that, I don't know personally. I don't have a big G-Wagon like thing. Every single one that I work on is super clean. None of them are destroyed in the inside in any way. Even the old ones are like super nice still. So again, probably another passionate owner group.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I will say I do like the newer G wagons more than the older ones because would you know why?
Why is that?
The difference between the 2019 and newer and the 2018 and older is legitimately because the front end has a steering rack and independent front suspension now.
Oh, right, because it was like a solid axle before, right?
Yes, it was a solid axle and a steering box, and it drove like a ship, but worse.
Right.
That quote from a magazine, I don't know which one, but probably Car and Driver or something. But the new ones have a steering rack and independent front suspension, and it actually drives like a regular Benz now.
Wow.
So it's not going to be as strong in the front end if you want to take it off-road as the steering box and solid front axle, but it still does off-road stuff really well. So
yeah, it has a name to live up to, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been using the same. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Yeah.
They've been using the same door latches since the 30s. So it just has little electronic sensor devices in them now.
I love that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah. The part number is like 000003. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Like Mr. Burns' serial or social security number. Yeah. So what rolls in that like you're excited to work on? And then is there an inverse to that? Like, is there something that like you're just never really too stoked to work on? Yeah.
100%. Anytime I get a 4-door 204 C300.
Okay.
Or any kind of 204 C class, specifically the 4-door. I love working on those cars.
I almost bought one of those. Yeah, when I had an Infinity before, and this was what I was cross-shopping it with. Yeah.
The driving dynamics of this car are super balanced. Like it handles extremely well on the road. And these, for some reason, I feel like they handle better than the coupes.
Okay.
The 2-door C classes on the 204 chassis, for some reason, they feel really tail heavy, especially in the AMG kind of side of things. Which, I mean, if you want to have a drift missile, absolutely fantastic. But I prefer a more balanced driving style, and I love the way that the 204 chassis feels. So This one, 4-door 204 C class. I love when I get to work on one of those. Another one is the AMG GT. I absolutely love being able to work on an AMG GT. I've done tons of oil changes on them. I've done transmission services on them. I've replaced the rear camera on one of them, which requires the removal of the entire rear bumper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have a snap of this where it's like, in order to remove, there it is right there. In order to remove that camera, you have to remove the bumper. In order to remove the bumper, you have to remove the rear tail lamp. In order to remove the passenger rear tail lamp, you have to remove the subwoofer. In order to remove the subwoofer, you have to remove the trim off the roof. So it's quite extensive. However, once I'm done with the job, I get to test drive it.
Right. There is that.
So that makes it, to me, worth it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
When it comes to like that kind of like those kind of like deeper repairs where you're going like several like onion layers deep, how do you feel about like Mercedes build quality when it comes to like the plastic components, the stuff that like, like the bumper, how
the
it's
infernal
fixed,
plastic clips.
Yeah, like the harness set connectors, stuff like that.
Yeah. As long as it's newer than 10 years old, perfectly fine.
Okay.
Anytime you're working on something that's older than a decade, that's when it starts to get brittle. That's when you start to have to really be careful, because any kind of wrong pressure somewhere and it's just shattering.
Right.
So especially if it's in an area where there's a lot of heat, like the engine bay or the dashboard or that kind of stuff. But on a new car, fantastic. Like everything, it takes a little bit of convincing to pop off. But once it's off, and it's not broken, it'll usually, my favorite part about it going back together is, one, it clicks into place with a really satisfying click, and two, if it doesn't go on easy, it's not on correctly.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It's a weird, like, I don't know, like, not muscle memory, but like a weird, like, mechanical sensitivity that's necessary for like a lot of that stuff, where like I always equate it to like snapping a PCI card, like a graphics card, into a motherboard.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's pressure, and then there's something is wrong pressure. Right.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
if you do it enough, you'll know.
Yeah.
You'll like, okay, if I push this any harder, it's going to snap. There's got to be a different way to do this.
Right.
So yeah. If you work on these cars enough, you'll get that kind of thing. Like, my least favorite of those plastic plugs is, like, I don't know what it's called, but it's for like the crankcase ventilation system in the engine.
Okay.
There's this like plastic clip that you have to press on both sides, and it requires a ungodly amount of pressure that my hands aren't strong enough for. Let's see.
Yeah. Maybe not any of them coming up, but yeah.
Yeah, no. But yeah, it's a style of clip that you have to push on both sides, and the theory behind it is, if you push down on the areas that you look at and you're like, okay, I need to push down those, it should move apart the parts that are clipping onto each other, but it doesn't. And I've learned that if you try to use pliers to clamp those together, it'll break before it lets go. So what I've learned to do with those is kind of very carefully pry the parts that are clipping on to each other off one at a time, one side at a time. And that usually gets them off without any kind of damage. So once I get it past that clip, like where it goes over each other, once I get it past that point, then it just slides right off.
Nice.
So, but yeah, it's there's a lot of like little nuances that you have to learn in order to make sure that you don't like damage anything like that. Speaking of, that's a centrifuge cover. Speaking of centrifuge covers, I need to replace mine in my E-Class. The centrifuge itself is probably starting to get clogged, and I'm having some crankcase ventilation issues to the point where if I floor it, my dipstick is sticking up out of the dipstick tube.
Oh,
gotcha.
Yeah, so a little too much positive pressure. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit too much. It's actually starting to push oil out of the rear main seal. So I need to get that sorted out really, really fast. I'm my first paycheck at the new dealer that I'm at comes in on the 10th of next month. So I'm waiting for that.
Right on. Nice. So let's, I mean, we have a bunch of other stuff we can talk about. We could talk about
absolutely.
We could talk about your Flag Time podcast. Definitely want to talk about that.
I'm down to talk about everything. So
yeah. So how did Flag Time come about? So for anybody who doesn't know, you have a podcast of your own. It's great. I've listened to a few episodes. It's called the Flag Time podcast.
So Flag Time is hosted by me, another Instagram user by the name of Stirworks, and another by the name of Pixie 2.3. Okay. We got together after people started to tag each of us in each other's Instagram reels. Because what had happened is I started posting mine in March of 2022 or 2021, excuse me. And it kind of spawned its own genre. I don't claim to have started this genre because I don't believe that I'm the first one to do this kind of thing, honestly. But everybody's like Mercedes-Benz technician, SerratedMobius is the OG for this kind of thing. That's what it has been claimed. But Pixie started to do his own version, and his kind of took off. He's got 16,000 followers now. Stirworks also does his own version, but from what it looks like, he didn't know of me when he started his. So it was kind of a happenstance kind of thing.
Yeah.
But his is also taken off. He does ADHD mechanic compilations,
Yes.
which are extremely funny.
Yeah, they are fantastic.
And he's got almost, I want to say, 70,000 followers now.
That's
but
awesome.
Pixie got us both, me and Stirworks, into a group chat. Our group chat is called the Council of Head Ass Mechanics. And we were just using that group chat on Instagram to like share memes and shit talk and basically just chat about how each other's Instagram pages are doing, because we're all new to this. We're all new to this influencer thing.
Right.
So we started talking, and I was working on a service at work, just doty-doing along, and all of a sudden an idea popped into my head, because I've been thinking about how us three could collaborate in some way. And immediately I was like, fuck, we could do a podcast. Shit. Like with the chemistry that we had in the group chat, it almost seemed like it would have been stupid to not do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I organized our first recording session, I want to say back at the end of February, and recorded the first episode. So I record a Discord session with us talking, and then save the recording, edit it in Sony Vegas, post it on RSS, and RSS distributes it out, to everywhere that we can do it on. And the first episode was so well received that we were number 15 on the US automotive podcast charts.
That's awesome.
That is amazing.
We've dropped since then. We're down below 100, but we do have we do have a group of weekly listeners that this is who we make this show for, is people who would listen.
Yeah.
So, but no, if you look at the logo right there, it says sponsored by Blue Shift Co. Blue Shift Co. is my sister's Etsy page.
Yes.
And she drew, one, my logo here on the group chat thing, and two, she drew the Flag Time logo.
Nice.
Yeah, you might have to type in like Etsy for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll put a link in the YouTube description for sure. Yeah.
Type in the search bar, type in SerratedMobius Speech. That'll make it come up.
Yeah. So tell us how Speech came about.
So Speech, when I first started working on these cars, I noticed that the oil filter for the majority of the it'll be in my link tree. The oil filter for the majority of the turbocharged inline 4 engines on Mercedes have 3 different size O-rings. So you got a big one, a slightly smaller one. Yeah, there you go. There's the background. So those 3 circles are literally 3 O-rings for the turbocharged inline 4 engines. And when I took them out of the box one day and put them on my desk, they fell in that pattern. And I was like, oh, that looks adorable. I'm going to put a little body and a mouth on it. And so the name Speed is a cross between the words speed and squidge, because O-rings are squidgy.
Right.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's my little character. I made him in like the end of 2020, going into 2021, and I would have him. He's a mute, chaotic, a slightly chaotic, cryptid, as I like to call him. So he doesn't say a word. His facial expression never changes, but he's constantly getting in small, subtle, not life-threatening chaos.
Right. Is he the one who's responsible for the missing 10 millimeter?
Could be. He celebrates New Year's Eve at 10 a.m. the day before. He'll find candy on the ground and eat it, like that kind of thing.
Okay.
Nice. Gonna have to order some Speech stickers. Yeah.
Yes.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Right? Yeah.
I actually have something sort of similar. So I was on a work call at my desk and was just like dicking around, and I happen to have like an open end wrench me see if I can cover up the work related stuff. And I like traced the open end of the wrench in my notebook, and then my 8-year-old came behind me and created a little character out of it.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I like
Same
that.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So
I had a question. So you sort of like started this whole journey with like a motorsports focus.
Uh-huh.
What opportunities have you had to get into motorsports like since you started down this road? Like I know you did a champ car race. Have you done anything else like that?
The champ car race, yeah, that was really fun. I got to do that with my buddy that I met while working at GoPro. His name is David Levine. He invited me out. And what's really, really cool about that trip that I'll always remember is that one of the guys that was on our team driving with us was NASCAR driver Colin Garrett.
Oh, wow.
okay.
So, yeah, he was in the Truck Series and Xfinity Series. So I got to race in the same car with an actual NASCAR driver. That was
cool.
the coolest thing.
Yeah.
What were you driving?
I don't remember what year, but it was a 1980s, I want to say 86 or 87, BMW 4 Series. I don't, three or 4 Series. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it was the 4-door 80s BMW sedan.
Yeah. An E30.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Big boxy thing.
Yeah.
A little
Those are
bit
great.
tail happy entering corners. So that was enough. That was a big pucker factor during the race. But yeah, I did that while I was working at GoPro. While I was at school, I had somebody who worked at Hendrick Motorsports offer me a position to work on the shock absorbers for the cars. But I had already decided. There we go. To go the Mercedes route for that kind of thing, and I didn't want to mess that up.
Sure.
But since then, since getting famous on Instagram, I've had a bunch of people who work in the pit crew of the GT race cars, the AMG GT race cars.
Yeah.
They've always said, like, dude, it wouldn't hurt to try and, pursue this kind of thing. Like, you already have experience working on Mercedes. Like, trying to apply wouldn't be too hard for you.
So get hooked up with like an IMSA team, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is 100% possible for me, as I have been told, but I just it has to line up with what I'm doing in my life. So
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be rad as hell. I race in Champ Car too, and I love that stuff. Like, it's so much fun. Did you guys have to do like any wrenching over the weekend or anything like that?
No. At the beginning of the race, this was a race at VIR in 2020. So August of 2020, VIR 24 hour. The car immediately had an issue 5 laps in.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, welcome to motorsports.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we ended up replacing some part. I don't, like I said, it's been so long that I don't remember, but, we ended up being able to go back out. And at the end of the 24 hours, we made it back up to the top third of the field.
That's great.
Nice.
So the fact that we finished, I take the finish as a win.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. It was a true 24 hour.
Yeah, it was a true 24 hour.
Oh, wow. That's a crazy thing to do for your first race.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about that. I went out on my first stint. I want to say we started at somewhere, I think noon. We started at noon, and 4:00 was my first stint. So I went out. I don't know if there was another car out on track or it was the car we were driving, because all of the drivers had this complaint, but I started to get extremely lightheaded about 14 laps in.
Oh.
Yeah. So a combination of the S's at VIR and whatever fumes I was breathing in, I was about to throw up in the car.
Okay.
So I radioed in. So yeah, turn 7, 8, and 9. That section was really fucking.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So I radioed in saying like, "Yo, I'm about to fucking puke in this car, and I don't want to mess up everything." So they were like, "All right, give us like 3 laps, and you can come in, and we'll do a driver change." So at the end of that 3rd lap, it was close. It was really close. I pulled in, and I had to get helped out of the car because I didn't have the strength to get out. So one, I was way more out of shape than I thought I was to do that kind of thing.
It's physical.
It's very physical. And 2, the fumes of either our car or another car just got to me, and I couldn't continue on. Also, the prospect of driving VIR at night for my first race was not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I was going to 100% be in an accident if I was out there at night.
Yeah.
So
it is crazy. Like I've done a 24-hour, but it was out here. I've never driven VIR, but I understand it's a pretty fast, intense track.
Very fast and no lights. Nothing.
Right. And that's how this place is too, that I did it. Yeah. It was like in the middle of nowhere. Doing your first stint ever in a race car at night is not a good idea.
No.
Yeah.
And 4 o'clock is tough too, because I don't know what time of year this was, but like it's, when the sun gets, so you still had some daylight left at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
The sun getting low, the dusk and dawn times are honestly also really tough because you can get, blinded, and then, shadows start playing with you, and it gets weird.
100%. And there was some really cool nuances that I learned from this whole experience. It was one, I had only driven a car with an H pattern shifter maybe 3 times before this.
Oh wow.
So to prevent any like mess ups that I could have done, about 6 months before the race, I bought an H pattern shifter for my iRacing rig.
There you go. Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because the first 24 hours of me practicing at VIR on this thing, I money shifted from like 3rd to 2nd, trying to upshift so many times. So I'm glad I got that out of my system before I went in the actual car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And destroyed a transmission and engine.
Thanks for the race car. I'm back.
Yes.
Well, and I mean, it's other things too, like you just have other things to think about. Like you've got lots of other things to think about. So if you can, that's what I always tell people when they're like, "Oh, does sim racing help?" It's like, well, anything you can do ahead of time to minimize the number of things you have to think about when you're on track is a good idea.
Yeah, no, it allowed me to get that muscle memory down.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to constantly like, okay, I need to go from 2nd to 3rd. Oh my God, there's a Mustang next to me. Like that kind of thing. So and that was the other thing too. My racing rig is VR. So I've got an Oculus Rift that I use so I can have depth perception. That's the biggest thing for me. Mm-hmm. I could never go back to like sim racing on a screen because I can't get rid of the depth perception now.
Yeah.
I've been spoiled. But going from the racing rig to real life, I was like, that BMW didn't have a huge amount of acceleration, but if I had a motion platform on my racing rig, it would have been 1-to-1.
Okay.
That's it. That's what it felt like, except for like, the heavy turning G-forces. Like just accelerating and going through the like slow corners would have felt exactly the same to me, I think. And then one of the interesting things that happened during my stint, I tried to stay on the inside because there was a lot of faster cars going through. I tried to stay, it was the outside of turn 1 going to the inside of turn 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I was on the outside of 1 letting a car pass. So I was on the outside of 2 going into the inside of 3. And while I was on the inside of 3 letting a car pass, this Mustang just locked up his brakes and just went right off into the grass. And I heard it happen. I looked over, saw him go off into the grass, and I was like, I didn't do that. That was me.
Yeah.
Clean. Clean.
That's always a really fun thing was when you hear that telltale like wah, 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 like of somebody with lock brakes around you someplace. You're like, where?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience, and I do not regret doing it. It was absolutely fantastic.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, those races are so much fun. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Like my dream is to be a professional racing driver, and it still is. Like I don't care what I'm doing in my life. I always will, at the drop of a hat, be like, "Hey, you want to drive a race car?" Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome, man. That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Any interest in, like, you're obviously a motorcycle enthusiast, right?
Yes.
With your BMW. Any interest in taking that, like doing track days, stuff like that with the motorcycle?
I would love to do a track day on the motorcycle. The only thing that's stopping me is leathers are expensive. I don't have a good set of modern leathers. And two, I don't really want to drop my motorcycle because of the sentimental value that I have for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't know, but my BMW S1000 used to be my dad's. And he had two of the things back in 2010, 2011. So he was tracking one, and then he bought the second one. Yeah, there you go. It's a 2011, so it's the first gen.
Okay.
If you type in 2011 S1000RR, I think, yeah, there you go. There's my video. It'll come up right there.
Yeah.
But so that was the road going S1000 that my dad had. In 2011, it's about to get really deep, I guess. I don't know.
That's okay.
A little bit of a tone shift, but my dad passed away on the racetrack.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
On his track bike, he went into a corner at Barbara Motorsports Park at about 130 miles an hour and had a stroke.
Oh God.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was no preventing that. Like that was 100%. That was it. So, but after that happened, I was left with this. And at the time in 2012, I was 19 years old. Like a 600 scared me.
Yeah,
sure.
I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? I just knew I wasn't going to sell it. It was always going to be mine. But the concept of riding it after that happened was like, yeah, no, I don't want to hurt myself. And I also don't want to mess this up.
Yeah.
But fast forward 5 years to 2015, and we took it to the place where my dad got it from, which is a dealership called Garcia Moto in North Carolina. And we had it restored because it'd been sitting for 5 years. So it had like the fuel lines had to be corroded. There were a bunch of things that they had to work on to make sure that it would run right. And when we got it back, the service manager looked at me. The service manager of that dealership was the guy who worked with my dad to get this thing. Service manager looked at me and said, "Son, you're going to have to either ride this or sell it because it's just not going to last sitting that much longer." So that was the catalyst that I needed to start learning how to ride it. And I got my motorcycle endorsement from a MSF course literally 2 months later. Nice. And I started riding. This is my first bike. Like I tried to ride a 600 back in 2009, but it scared me so bad that I never got on it. So in 2016, I started riding on a 2011 S1000RR. It had 1,500 miles on it when I first started riding it, and it has 23,000 on it now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I dailied it for about 3 years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Those are super. I don't know that much about motorcycles, but I know these are super cool bikes.
Dude, oh my gosh. I've never, ever felt, at the time when I first started riding it, I never felt any kind of acceleration like that before.
Yeah, I bet.
Even on like roller coasters.
Yeah. Because at the time, this was the fastest bike you could buy, right? Like this was it. This was the fastest bike in the
I don't
world
know
at the
about,
time.
I think 2016 had faster bikes at least, but in 2011, yes, this was the fastest production
when it came
motorcycle.
out. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's your first bike. I mean, that's like somebody getting a of A-Rod for their first car, essentially.
Well, it did have riding modes, and that's what saved me a lot in certain situations. So the thing that allowed me to learn on this motorcycle was the fact that it had a rain mode.
Nice.
And so it has traction control, wheelie control, ABS, and rain mode restricts the horsepower even.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you could say it neuters the bike, because it does. Like, it makes the throttle response super forgiving compared to the top level that it has, like the top mode. But it turns it into a like nice docile little rocket. So I mean, if you get up in the higher revs, it'll fucking wheelie on you still, and the wheelie control will kick in. But if you keep it in the lower revs, it's pretty tame, and that's what allowed me to learn how to ride on the thing.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
It requires self-control. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you need to have some self-control to learn how to ride on this thing. But when I started doing the motorcycle reviews, when I would take a different bike out for like a weekend, ride it, get an opinion of it, film it, all that kind of stuff, I would always look forward to going back on the S1000.
Yeah.
Nice.
Didn't matter what the bike was, even the ZH2 that I reviewed, which is one of my favorite motorcycles of all time. Ever since I rode that thing. That thing is bonkers, but I like my S1000. I just do. And it's probably because of the sentimental value, but yeah, it handles so well and it fits so nice.
You have nerve endings for it at this point after 20.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah,
miles,
right? It's like an extension.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. What do you say we play a game? Would you like to play a game with us? I first of all, I have to call out the fact that you have an Aperture Laboratories sticker on your motorcycle.
Yes.
Fucking love Portal 1 and 2, the best video games ever made. So thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. But so this game is centered around vanity license plates, which I'm sure you have seen. Do you have a history with vanity plates yourself? Have you ever had a car with a vanity plate or wanted one?
The S1000 has a Spitfire vanity plate. It says Spitfire on the back because that's the name of the bike.
Nice.
Very appropriate. Yeah. Nice. I do have a vanity plate to show you. Yeah, Ian, would you mind describing how the game works while I pull this up?
Yeah. So the game is going to be, it's like Highlights Magazine. You're going to be matching. So we're going to give you 3 cars with their license plates blacked out.
I see where this is going. Okay.
And then we'll give you the text of the vanity plates, and you have to figure out which maniac has which license plate.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Before we show you the 3 cars, I do want to show you this vanity plate that one of our listeners, Tara, sent in, just because I know you'll get a different kick out of this than most other people. But here you go. It's a C300 with a vanity plate that says TSB. Yeah.
Is that technical service bulletin? Is that what that says? Is that what it means?
I want to live in a world where, yes, that is true. It could be just their initials, who knows? But I choose to believe that they are in on the joke and that it is technical service.
Because there was a lot of TSBs for the C300, so yeah.
Right? Like, as a Mercedes tech, I'm sure that would make your day should you happen across it, right?
100%.
Yeah. So, anyway, we'll get to the game here. Yes. Okay. License plate game. Here we go. This one's called Merc Madness, buddy. All right.
Let's see.
We'll talk them through. We can zoom and enhance.
And I haven't seen these either, so we're going to be playing together as a team.
Yeah. Yep. So up top we have a silver. This is what is this? An E63 AMG?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They got the little carbon fiber rear lip wing on it. And we have it in the middle, we have a white GLC 300. And then down at the bottom here, we have a very red G-Wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Ian, do you want to read the license plates?
Yeah. AMG 1 or Am Gone.
Yeah.
Art Man.
Mm-hmm.
And Yo Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
So we can zoom and enhance if you want to
Okay.
take a look at any context clues. But we're looking at the E63 now, and it's got the Indy 500
Right.
license plate, special license plate, and a carbon fiber.
I would imagine that one's the AMG one, but I don't know if it has enough space for that with the IndyCar logo there.
Interesting. Okay.
I will say, as the creator of this one, all of the plates could fit on all of the
Okay.
all of the
Gotcha.
Yep. So it is an option for any of them. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So are there any that jump out at you as like, oh, I know I have a real good feeling about some
I
of
feel
these?
like the Yo Man is the GLC right there.
Okay. Okay.
Wait, what is that?
It says,
What does that frame say?
the frame says something about your answer.
What was the question?
Oh yeah, that's what it says
something
on
is the
front.
answer. What was the question?
Yes.
Oh.
There we go. Yep.
I feel like. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say bonus points if you know what state this is from, just from looking at it.
Oh no, I can't tell.
Is it
No.
Hawaii?
You're right. Yeah, it's Hawaii. They have this is how they do their expiration
registration.
tags over on the side. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Okay.
Weird. Okay, no context clues there. And this is downtown Denver, it looks like. Maybe Boulder.
Yeah, that's a G550, so that's not the G63.
Right.
Mhm.
Not so sure about the tread depth on these tires here.
Why do I feel like the AMG 1 license plate is not going to be on the AMG? Why do I feel that?
Because this is what happens. You get in your head, you start noodling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's
course-
what happens.
Of course, AMG owners that actually have AMGs, they're going to want to put AMG on everything. So
Mhm.
I guess final answer for that one, AMG 1's going to go to on the E63.
Okay.
Yeah.
However,
I think-
Artman, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think these other two are tough because I feel like, just Hawaii in general is a vibe.
Yeah.
And also G-Wagon, I don't know. That's tough. I think a lot depends on how you pronounce the yo in Yo Man. Like if
Mhm.
it's a real aggressive yo,
Mhm.
then I would lean
Like
towards
an East Coast yo.
Yeah, I would lean towards G-Wagon, right? Like that seems like something a G-Wagon owner would say, like leaning out their window in traffic.
Mhm.
Yo, man.
Right.
Of course,
Um,
Artman, there might be some kind of really successful artist that got a lot of money on commissions and they're driving a G-Wagon, so they're just like Artman. So
mhm.
I feel that one. That's a gut decision there. I'm going to put Artman on the G550
Okay.
and Yo Man on the GLC 300.
Okay.
I think I agree because I think it's Yo Man is actually Yeoman. And
Yeah.
I think this is like a spiritual journey thing that's happening in Hawaii. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think you're right. I like your picks.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Well, you're locked in. Let me give you
Mhm.
the answers. Boom. 3 for 3.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. Our buddy Eric up in Illinois sent us the AMG one or AMGON. Tara that sent us the TSB one sent us in Yo Man from Hawaii. And then
Nice.
a completely unknown person that sent us the G-Wagon. I texted them back when they texted it to us, and they did not respond, so I could not get their name. If this is your picture that you took, please respond to my text and let me know how to credit you on the show, please. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, and if you have vanity plates that you want to send us, you can text them to 720-515-1391. And we'll put them in the hopper and put them on the show. Yeah.
I'll send you guys a picture of Spitfire's vanity plate so you can use that in the future.
That's
Nice.
perfect. Yes. Thank you. We have a few motorcycles in the hopper, so a motorcycle themed vanity plate game would be fantastic.
As long as they don't listen to this episode, they'll know it 100%.
It'd be a good test, Steve.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. The apex adjacent cannon, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Nice. Well done, both of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Good work, team.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I liked your reasoning for the Artman G-Wagon because nobody ever sells a bunch of art on commission and is like, you know what I'm going to get? GLC 300.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
A G-Wagon is definitely an uppity artist's car.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep. Yeah. Right
Yeah,
on.
that definitely fits with the typical like Denver G-Wagon owner. So
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, this has been awesome. Thank you for playing games with us and
Hell
talking
yeah.
to us about your whole car journey. What should people do to find you, and where should they go, and what should they do?
Well, if you don't already follow the Instagram page, go follow me at SerratedMobius. It is a long name, and I made it in 2007 when I was in high school. So, it's spelled SerratedMobius for those of you who are just listening to the podcast. So you can find me on Instagram there. I also use that name for everything else. So you can find me on YouTube. You can find me, basically YouTube. Those are the two main ones that I use. I have SerratedMobius for like Xbox Live and other things like that. But those are the two main things that I'm posting on. My YouTube is just where I've posted stuff for years now, because the out of context Mercedes-Benz technician reels are not the first time I've ever made a like clip video style thing. So I've had a lot of practice basically with this kind of thing. It's just that was the first thing that took off. So you can see SerratedMobius lore on my YouTube channel. That's where you can find all the stuff that I've made so far, including my passion project video, Project Wingman is the game of my dreams. I could go entirely into the lore of Ace Combat, because that's where Mobius comes from. It's Ace Combat 4.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite game series of all time. I could talk about that for another hour. So, but yeah, that's those are the two places that you can see me on. Go listen to as well. Add along with Apex Adjacent, add Flag Time to your listening repertoire.
Yeah,
Flag Time podcast. Me, Stirworks, and Pixie 2.3. We talk about just random stuff, mainly automotive service related. As long as we can remember that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great show.
We suffer from that from time to time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of these podcasts like that center around like automotive stuff, like always start with like, oh, so and so are friends, like the show, right? Like that's how Ian and I started the show. Is Ian and Dave are friends, and we also like cars, right?
Well, the hilarious thing about our show is we didn't know each other until after Instagram took off for all three of us.
That's such a great way to like bring the three of you together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it works. It works.
The most modern of meet cutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely do all that stuff.
And that's kind of why I like my following a lot, is because it attracted, since I'm being myself on Instagram, it attracted people who share my same sense of humor and like share what also makes me laugh and makes them laugh and all that kind of stuff. So almost every single one of my followers and I get along. It's crazy. And the fact that like maybe 0.5% of my comments are negative. So it's like, it's so cool to have all of this positive feedback and have people who share the same sense of humor and all that kind of stuff just following me and seeing what I do. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's cool that you're injecting this kind of stuff into social media, into this kind of stuff, because we could all use something like this. And like, I mean, like I came across it. It wasn't like COVID lockdown, but like it was still like COVID lockdown stuff was still pretty fresh and raw. This kind of stuff hit with me like at a really crucial time, and it's great to have this kind of stuff, and we really appreciate it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you got it, man. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, definitely Flag Time podcast. We'll put links to all your stuff in the YouTube description for sure. Yes. Follow SerratedMobius. My relative's Pennsylvania accent almost comes out every time I say that. Moby. I want to go Mobius. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, follow SerratedMobius on all of the things for sure. Yeah. Yeah. What else,
Thank you.
Ian? What else we got?
Well, if people enjoyed this nonsense, they should subscribe to us on YouTube. They should tell a friend about us. They should text us at 720-515-1391. You can also call us. We won't answer, but you can leave us a voicemail. Maybe we'll play it.
Yep.
And but yeah, send us maniacs with vanity plates. And also, just Eric, thank you again. This was great. Everybody else, we love you. Thank you. Goodbye.